Boom, we're live. Everybody can hear us. Is that working? Audio check from the audience, please. I had to reset my mic tonight. And other than that, Robert, we have Robert Reid tonight.
Hey, everybody.
Completing my collection of Gonna Go For It hosts. I can set them all up on the shelf now. The collection is complete. But other than that, Robert, if you want to give a wee introduction for yourself and just let the people who don't know who you are.
Yeah, certainly. My name is Robert Reid. In terms of theism, I left theism at the age of 39. I'm 48 now. I got on Twitter. I accidentally met Peter. We hit it off like that on someone else's channel. And I've been a co-host with him on and off for quite some time and been having a blast.
Well, that was the first 20 minutes of my questioning. Thanks. You just...
I'm more than willing to expand on that if you want.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that you'd left theism that late in your life, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I was a hardcore Bible beat. Before there was Ray Comfort and YouTube, there was me and my church. We did the exact same thing that asshole did. And as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid in the same brown suit with a black clip-on tie, I was the kid when church got out tapping grown people on the shoulder asking them about their eternity. And when they didn't give me the answer that I was taught was right, here's an 11-year-old kid telling a grown-ass man or woman, you're going to go to hell and be tortured forever. That's the kind of Christian I was growing up.
You see, you left it at 39, and not to be disrespectful, but you're a big lad. If you were 39 and standing behind me and saying, "Have you found Jesus?" I'd be like, "Fucking yeah, I found Jesus. Want to go for coffee?"
Maybe that's why they use me.
Yeah, you'd have a good success rate.
But that's the thing, and I'm also a former football player, and God, I'm from the South. God, Jesus, football, they're all connected. And so it wasn't even a question. You were just a Christian. And we would have pregame prayers, postgame prayers. We would talk about God in between everything. So it wasn't just me. There was a whole cavalcade of large, muscular people tapping people on their shoulders, asking them, where are you going to go when you die? It's kind of like a hit squad.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Were you the quarterback? Could you spike them with a ball at a distance? They're running away. They're running away.
Kind of metaphorically, we did, because if you tap 10 people on the shoulders and you're in the South, you probably got about 5 or 6 to kind of agree with you. And so there was a huge celebration, and always at the end, it was kind of to seal in the flavor. You wanted them to pray in public with you. So it was, as soon as someone agreed with you, it was like, can we pray right now? And it would be in the middle of a big ass, football stadium or whatever. And if you can get that person to bow their head and pray right there on the spot, it was kind of like you got a conversion. I think I was only a couple away from a set of steak knives or something.
That's only ever happened to me once. Not to blame it, but I actually think it was listening to Jay's stream, because Jay usually, I don't know if you know Jay Pasick, Jay usually streams bright and early, my time being in the UK, and I'm pretty sure I was listening to one of his streams, and Jay being Jay, it's late at night for him in California, he's swearing and shouting and all the rest of it, and just being him, and there was a person in the waiting room had overheard, because I was just walking about with it, listening to it on my phone, and they asked if they could pray with me, just completely out of the blue. They must have overheard what was going on. And I was like, yeah, you want to pray, thinking that they would fuck off and go pray for me at home. But no, as you say, man, they stopped right there in front of everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
And I just stood there and just was like, right, okay. But they bowed their head and prayed, and right in the middle of the floor, right there and then.
It's kind of part of the shit, man. How do I say it? It's kind of part of the program. I went on someone else's channel when I first got introduced to Twitter and YouTube and all the other stuff, and I shared something with what, as Peter calls her, she who shall not be named. And I told her when I was 16, I just started driving, and I saved up my allowance to get a car stereo. And I got approached. God, what was the name of that place? Was it Mother's? But I went and bought a $149 car stereo, and I'll never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And dude approaches me. Is that my cat? You piece of shit. But a dude approaches me, and I'm beginning to drive away, and he wants to talk to me about my eternal salvation. I'm like, well, fuck me. We're the same. And in the story, he got me to bow my head right there in the middle of a crowded ass street and pray on the spot. And I knew where he was going because I used to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If you can get someone to bow their head and pray, that was considered a conversion. And you did it right.
Generally, from that person's point of view, they just agree to shut you up, though.
But I think there's also a part of you that's so dyed to the wool, so ingrained in the program that that's probably not even a thought in your mind. I got that person to pray. I got him. Versus maybe this person's actually just doing it to, like you said, to shut me the fuck up. No, in your mind, if you can get them to bow their head or get on their knee, you got them.
And were you like a Jehovah's Witness that went out, or were you Mormon, or were you Baptist, or?
I was half Baptist and half Catholic. My dad's side of the family was the Baptist side. My mom's side was the Catholic side. So we kind of got the best of both worlds. We got the ceremonial shit with my mom, and then we got the praising and the clapping and the dancing and all that stuff with my dad. Actually, not the dancing, but the big time singing and praising the Lord and all that stuff from my dad's side.
That's an interesting mix.
All the guilt you could possibly pile on to a child between the Baptist and the Catholic, I got it all. I got it all.
No wonder
and
you...
it's...
Of course you would end up screaming then.
Well, we just talked about it with someone, and it kind of fucks you up to where you're an adult and, just straight up sex. The sex will always fuck with you if you were born and raised incredibly religious, because when you are incredibly religious, it's just, they teach you everything you're not supposed to do. They don't give you any education. It's all about prohibition. Yeah. And so if you're human, your dick gets hard, your vagina gets wet. It's just natural. It's like growing. It's like growing a beard. It's just natural. And so when you explore that stuff, you just feel like shit doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And because all religion ever tells you is don't do it. And even when you're allowed to do it, there's still things that you can't do. But they never tell you what it is you're allowed to do. So it kind of fucks with you when you get that kind of hardcore indoctrination with sex and just about anything else.
Well, generally over here, the running joke is, like Frank Zappa said, Catholic girls. That, they get segmented away, different schools and all that, and it drives you crazy. You're growing, and abstinence is not the best thing.
It's a terrible thing.
It really isn't. No, it definitely is. No, there is other means and other ways about it, and that's just one aspect of how religion can control you. Do you think that doing the religion, as you say, always won with the football and all? Generally being a big enough guy, were you always into football, or did you get into football through the church, or did it all just come as one?
Me and my dad had a similar path. He went and played college football at Southern University in Baton Rouge, where he met my mom, and then my dad got drafted in the NFL by the New York Jets. I have the exact same path. So all I've ever known is football. I think I knew football before I knew the church, which is saying a lot because I was born and raised in the church. And so for me, playing football wasn't an option. It's something I still have my dad's college football helmet. And this is disgusting to admit, my very first jockstrap was my dad's jockstrap. But I was so proud to wear it because my dad, to this day, I'm 48, he's my idol. And, why he kept a jockstrap for fucking, 2-3 decades, but he did, and I wore it. And it was so cool. I look back at it now, I'm like, that was fucking disgusting. But yeah.
Man,
so playing football wasn't not an option.
Not 10, 15 foot behind me, I used to have long hair, and as you seen before we come on stream, I'm now bald. And I cut the ponytail off. I have it in the frame, and I have a piece of hair from the daughter's first haircut when the daughter got her haircut, and it's down in the bottom corner. So it's Daddy's last haircut and her first haircut. Like, so.
No joke.
You know, people say that's a
kind
bit
of cool.
It's a wee bit cooler than disgusting. You know, I'm not going to take it on and wrap it around my dick, but
good for you. Don't do that.
But it's a nice memory, you know. Just if I could just jump in, there's a few people have popped up now. We're getting Jeff, Jefferson Spashcock's here, Gibbler's here, Sammy. We've got Gio and Mama. Dave was here as well, and yeah, Nez is here. I love Nez Lover. Nez Lover is definitely want to get her on one of my panels. She's does a wee art stream, nice and chilled, man. If you want anything just to sit and chill and relax and watch someone do art, that's Nez. We've also got Mama, who's got Godless Engineer this Saturday, so that'll be good as well.
Okay.
It's just nice to say hello to everybody. They all cry if they don't get acknowledged, you know. They're whiny, needy fucking audience. It's disgraceful.
Damn those audience members.
Yeah. So other than you ruining everything at the very start with all my questions, how did you, like, what brought you to Twitter? Did you just get bored with Facebook or move on to Twitter or?
No. So I used to do radio here in town. And my co-host was another former Texas football player. And all I knew was to get on the mic and talk shit, which I'm guess kind of good at. And he was telling me, you need to have a social media presence. Mm-hmm. Because let's say I say something crazy, like Texas is going to beat Oklahoma by 7 touchdowns. People need to be able to find you on social media to talk shit back. That drives traffic to the station. Yeah. And I didn't know what the fuck it was. So literally my co-host Rod signed me up for Twitter. And then I just never touched it. Never touched it. And then, I don't know, fucking 5 years ago, I was like, what is this Twitter thing? And then I remembered he signed me up. Yeah. And somehow, I actually remembered my password. Mm-hmm. And that's how it got started. And now I'm on Twitter, and it's just the way the shit works out. Yeah. I had a first Twitter account when Twitter came out, like, fucking years ago, and then loaded it back up again about 6 months ago. Got in, and it was my original name, so I was like, right, have to change that. And then I changed it to another one, and like a dickhead forgot to add a mobile or an email to it, which is the one that I connect to you on, which is attached to my phone, but I can't access it anywhere else, and they won't let me in because of no fucking email or mobile number attached to it. Yeah, so that was my issue. So when I got back on, RC Reid is my actual name. Robert Christopher Reid, and 40 was my college jersey number. Ah. If I change shit up, I will forget it. And my password for Twitter is pretty much the password I have for everything else. Because I don't know if I'm just not that smart or the concussions are taking its toll. If I change something, I'm fucked. I won't remember it. So it was like, is this my password? Because it's the same password I've always used. And the shit worked. Yeah. And almost 4,000. Yeah. I have recently had to reset all my passwords because I like a 6-digit number that I would chop and change. And then you end up with so many permutations. If it's 3 and then a letter and then the other 3, or is it the 6 and then the letter and then this? And it was always the same 6 digits, and it's always the letter A. But fuck me, there was that many permutations. I would always forget if you hadn't been there, you know, what another one is. So the girlfriend's brother said to me, just think of a pattern of numbers and symbols, and then the very middle, stick the letter in of the website that you're trying to get to. So the only thing that would change would be the letter in the middle. That wouldn't help me at all. What was it? What was I trying to get into? Well, if you'd 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the middle was the letter that you were looking to change. If you're logging into Google, it would be 1, 2, 3, G, 4, 5, 6. Okay. If you're logging into Facebook, it would be 1, 2, 3, FB, 4, 5 6. Got it. And that's what I've done with everything now, which makes it an awful lot easier. Well, see, now you just said it out loud. Now we can't use it, right? Nobody knows. Nobody knows the password, but they, you know, as long as they fuck it, don't. Where's the edit button? Edit that out. See, you say that, and for whatever reason, my bank account is one of the most hacked bank accounts on the fucking planet. I swear to you. I can't tell you the number of times I've tried to fill up my gas tank only to have my card decline. Check my bank account to realize I have more than enough money and then called the bank and realized someone hacked into my account, so they shut me down. I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, you say that no one knows, but fucking someone's listening right now, and they just wrote down what you just said, and it's 123F456.
Well, it's not 12345 6. It's something completely different, which you will not subconsciously get out of me. Stop asking. My credit card number is 47. No, so back to you, Robert. Back to you. She went on to Twitter then. Yeah, you went on to Twitter. And how long were you on Twitter before Peter seemed to notice you screaming at people, or did you notice him screaming at people?
Oh, so how me and Peter met is, and fuck it, I'll just say her name, SJ Thomason. And she contacted me because she and I started out as, at minimum, friendly on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so we were having a very pleasant back and forth, and she asked me to go on her channel. I was like, sure, why not? And it was her, Heather, and the two atheists were me and Peter. And I still remember it. I was about 10 to 15 minutes late because I just don't know how to work this computer shit. And when I finally dialed in, the only person I knew was SJ. So I'm like, everyone, please, I'm sorry for the late arrival. Please introduce me to yourselves. And, you know, my name is Pete. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I remember.
Yeah.
And we had a great, that first talk, I'm not going to lie, was fantastic. And afterwards, because a friend of mine was here, we were going to go out to dinner. I had to cut the interview short. And before we left, Peter was like, hey, do me a favor. I'm going to shoot you a DM. I would like to have you on the channel. And then me and Peter, and was it Karis? I think it was. I had a 2-hour interview on their spot. And after that, he and I just started doing shows together. And I can't lie, I love Peter. We've got a great vibe. Just about every show we've ever done, there's always been a great chemistry and a great back and forth.
Yeah, well, that's it. When you find someone that you can have the rapport with, you know, I personally have that with, I think with Richard Madsen, if you've seen him out and about. And Richard Madsen will be a theist as well, of some sorts. Richard is Richard. But me and him do a show on a Thursday together, and I refer to that man as my online stepbrother. You know, when you get the rapport with someone and you can have the banter back and forth, it's priceless, regardless of what their stance is or what they believe.
No question.
Yeah, finding someone that you can just banter back and forth with and have a bit of fun with, that gets you understanding. You know, it is rare.
Right. I would actually love, and I don't think I come across as an asshole, but if I could find, and I actually do, but if I could find a theist that I could vibe with, I think that would be great. Because if you're just sitting in an echo chamber, if you're just sitting in a room full of people that constantly agree with you, you're not learning, you're not expanding.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's part of the reason why I am on Twitter. I can throw out some chum, someone will bite on it, and we can learn from each other. But if you're just constantly around atheists, if you're an atheist, if you're constantly around Christians, if you're a Christian, you're never being pushed. And that to me is just boring as shit. That's my idea of hell, is being surrounded by a bunch of people who are going to say nothing but yes to me. That's fucking awful.
Nez Lover as well. Nez Lover, to my recognition, is a Christian flat earther. And we get on. We don't even bring it up. We just hang and chat and talk, because you just banter back and forth. You know, I actually think, if I would be right, I'd say my first 40 or 50 subs came from Christian sub for sub places. I used to go into Christian sub for sub hangouts and just tell them I was an agnostic and see how that would go and bounce back and forth with them. And I'd say at least my first 40, 50 subs came from that. Because that's what I wanted, as a base of people who disagree with me.
Absolutely.
You know, I've reached out to a few. Craig Reid has said that he will come on to the channel. I've seen him on with yous a few times. He seems, you know, decent enough to talk to. And I've reached out to a few other Christians as well, because I want more Christians to come on. At the minute, we're having an awful lot of atheists and back and forth, and non-theists and stuff like that. I've got a couple of pagans lined up. I wanted to know about the pagans as well. And it's good to just surround yourself with different people.
I've had 3 talks with Craig. And to this day, I would still have a cup of coffee with that man. But he has a very interesting arguing style, right? He's not your average everyday Christian. And our last back and forth wasn't very fruitful, and I'll say that. But if you talk to Craig is Craig. Just put on your seatbelt, right? He had a conversation with Peter maybe last month or so, and they had a horrid back and forth on Twitter, and then they ended up having a very pleasant talk on the YouTube channel. So, I mean, if you're going to talk to Craig, just put on your seatbelt. Wear your mouthpiece.
Well, we haven't got a date, but we're twittering back and forth, sorting out a date. But
I hope you get it. I give him 2 thumbs up. I actually do. I would actually talk to him again under certain circumstances. But yeah.
See, that's what I'm after. Regardless of what his style is, regardless of his beliefs, the fact that you can stand there taking your stance and say, yes, he's worthwhile having a conversation with because he's open to the conversation. That's what we're after.
If nothing else with Craig, you will no, and I'm serious.
No, I just laughed at your t-shirt. I just seen your t-shirt. That's why I laughed. You've got a pig t-shirt.
Oh, that body my bacon. I'm a Southerner, man. Fuck me. We have a saying where I'm from. It's if it bleeds, we'll eat it.
Yeah.
Right. I've eaten raccoon. I've eaten squirrel. I've eaten possum. I've eaten nutria, snake, rabbit, gator. Like I said, if it bleed, shit, just name the critter, and I've probably eaten it. So this is probably the most mainstream animal product I've eaten. But yeah, if you can get Craig, go ahead on. If nothing else, you'll learn something, and he just has a very interesting arguing style.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'd like to get to know the man more, and if anything, hopefully he can reach out, and you know, the more Christians we know, the more we'll get to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Actually, I actually met him. I met him on Twitter first, and we had some back and forth over the whole football thing. And we have the same last name, and I just think Stephanie thought it was cool to have the 2 Reids on her channel at the same time, and so we did 2 chats, and they were both titled the 2 Reids. Yeah, and it was interesting, right? Like I said, he's got an arguing style. He's like a terrier with a bone in its mouth. If you've ever tried to take a bone out of a terrier's mouth, good luck. Right? You better put your back into it. And that's what it's like talking to Craig.
Yeah, I have a Jack Russell cross with a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and yeah, I sent you pictures of him the other day on Twitter. Yeah. He has lockjaw. Like, you can lift him up.
Oh, yeah.
Clean up off the ground, and he will not let go.
Where's my finger? There's a Jack Russell at my feet right here, and you can't see him, but probably my internet sensation, El Bubba, his fat ass is on the couch over there, and they're both just kind of sacked out, and they're both terriers, and yeah, I get it.
In saying that, man, I got a wee second-hand pram whenever the girlfriend was pregnant. Taught the dogs that the pram was safe, and then when the child was born, you know, I took from the pram and attached that to the child. And my wee girl can go over and take a bone clean out of the dog's mouth, and the dog just sits there, and he lets her take it, and then he'll walk over to me and go, right, that bitch of a daughter of yours, you need to talk to her. And he just sort of sit there and look at you. You know, he's very gentle around her. That is one good thing.
Yeah.
Whenever he's playing. Sorry, go on ahead.
What's that?
Go on ahead.
No, I was going to ask, how old's your little girl?
She just turned 3 at the end of February, and he will be 16 next month.
No shit.
Ever since
So you just started this road, a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's fun.
I don't have kids, but goddamn.
Oh, it's great fun. I got her to count to 11 today. We've been working up through the numbers, and we're up to 11 now. And it'll help with her saying her name as well, because it begins with an L. And she's struggling with the L because you have to put your tongue at the top of your roof of your mouth. You know, to get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's up to 10 now, all by herself. Knows that you can take things. She hasn't got the adding yet. She doesn't know that 2 + 1 makes 3. But you know, she's getting there. I love numbers, but.
That's cool, man. So again, all my friends are old football players, and they're all as big or bigger than I am. And to see these enormous men who just crush other human beings with their daughter, and just watch these enormous, muscular, hyper testosterone-driven masculine men just reduced to baby talk and and it just seems like a really cool dynamic. to have a daughter. So congratulations. Truly.
There's pictures from last weekend where she got the roll of toilet paper because we're doing potty training at the minute, and she just decided to like completely wrap me up in toilet paper and the dog. So there's just a picture of the two of us sitting on the couch, both looking very unhappy, me and the dog, as she's gleefully wrapping us up in fucking toilet paper. Like.
And if it made her happy, who gives a shit, right?
Oh man, no, I have no problem doing any of that. I haven't got so far as had to wear a dress yet, but I've had plenty of tea parties. She's even got.
I would love to have a tea party.
Yeah.
That again, I've seen my boys have it. And to sit, I actually commented on a video that was on Twitter, and it was this grown ass bearded man with his son, and his son wanted to wear I've never seen the movie, but Frozen.
Yes.
And yeah, the dad wore a dress, the son wore a dress, and whatever the big theme song was from Frozen, they both danced to it. And people were like, "Oh, this isn't masculine." I'm like, "Are you shitting me? That looks like a fucking blast." I would miss the Super Bowl to dance with my kid to the theme song of Frozen. And if they could find a dress to fit my big ass, I would wear it in a heartbeat.
Well, it wouldn't bother me at the minute now, but at the minute she's sort of clinging on to me and doing an awful lot of daddy things. We didn't buy a dress, but I did get her a boiler suit. You know, I work in cars and she likes to come out underneath me and help out with the cars and lift tools and stuff. I have a video. I don't know what way they would...
Keep going. I
don't know if what way people would take this, but I have a wee battery-powered drill, and the damn thing was near done. All right, it needed charged, and the wee girl lifted it and wanted to see what it was, so she's buzzing away at it with the drill. My woman panicked. She's like, "What are you getting now? There's no bit in the end. It's just a nearly dead-powered little 12-volt, tiny little drill." My woman near frickin' had a heart attack, like. You know, it's just a drill. It's only a drill. It's fine. It's just 3. It's only a drill.
Only a drill. Only a drill. Famous last words, right? It's kind of like hold my beer. Nothing ever comes good after the words hold my beer or it's only a drill.
Oh, no.
Which part is the sharp end?
Well, as I said, there was no bit in it. There was no bit in it.
Okay.
So it was fine, and it was very low in battery. I wouldn't give her a fucking impact wrench with a fucking wood bit in it or drill a hole in her finger, but... No, she likes to explore. She likes to get out, and yeah, I enjoy doing that. That's she loves being outside. So it's
solid.
Yeah, no, there's me. See, every time I fucking start, I can't shut up about her. She's great. She's also
I love hearing this stuff.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
She's as ginger as the sun too, but with that, everybody knows how ginger she is.
I never, or at least not that I'm aware of. I'm about to say there's no kids out there that I can claim on tax day, but
you've sons.
It just seems really fucking cool.
You have sons.
If by sons you mean these 4-legged little bastards that are running around my house, yeah.
Oh no,
and they run my life.
Yeah. How many? You have 2 dogs.
2 dogs and a cat and little fuckers around here somewhere. But I've got them and the little guy, my 17-year-old, whose picture is right there and I can't reach it. I had my previous Jack Russell. At the age of 12, he had a stroke.
Yeah.
And paralyzed. Everyone said to put him down. And the vet said, he's not in any pain. As long as you don't mind caring for him, take him home. So it wasn't even an option. And so I took my little guy home and probably took him a year of some pretty intense rehab. And by rehab, I meant just go fucking walk.
Yeah.
And he ended up kind of walking again, and he lived another 5 years. And so he's kind of my idol, especially now with my leg all fucked up. I kind of look for him for inspiration.
For anyone who doesn't know, do you want to tell them what happened to your leg?
I was actually rescuing a dog. It was Thursday. I'm trying to remember the exact day, because I was supposed to get on a plane the next day to go to Colorado for 5 days to go visit my best friend and kind of get out of Texas. And as I'm driving home, I'm trying to remember which one I saw first. I think I saw the dog first. There was a dog the size of my foot running in and out of traffic on one of Austin's busiest streets, doing his best to die. And then when I looked over to my right, there's a lady who's crying so hard she's almost fainting. And didn't take a second to realize that's her dog.
Yeah.
So I hit my car in park. I got out of my car. And so the funny part is, as I'm running my, you can hear my dogs going now. Guys, really?
Yeah, that's a Jack Russell.
Yep. Shut up. And so as I'm running this dog down, the first thing I think is, I still got it. Right? 'Cause I used to be fast. Once upon a time, I used to be fast. Now I'm almost 50, but I just started opening it up. And as I'm chasing this dog down, I'm actually gaining ground. And I literally think, oh, I still got this shit. And so the last step before I caught the dog, I thought someone was behind me and they hit me with a baseball bat. That's what it felt like. So much, in fact, I turned my head. And when I realized no one was behind me, my first thought was, oh, I just ruptured my Achilles. And so I just sat there in a parking lot. The lady came and got her dog. Great. And I just laid there. And about 3 cars just drove by me until finally one lady stopped, rolled down her window and said, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think so. Can I do anything to help? And I actually had to pause. I didn't think she was going to do it. I was like, could you at least give me a ride back to my car? And she drove me back to my car and I drove to the hospital. And that's it. I have a ruptured Achilles. My first soft tissue injury. I played football for 2 decades. I played on AstroTurf. And I'm so old that first generation of AstroTurf was sinister. Everyone tore their ACL, the MCL, their LCL. Everyone ruptured an Achilles, except for me.
See, that
I go and run on concrete in wrestling shoes, and I rupture my Achilles.
See, on the topic of the people that driving past you, that annoys me. That people have disingenuated themselves from that so much. And I have drove past a person before within this last 6 months or so, and there was coming home from work. Well, it's maybe a bit more than that. Coming home from work, and there was a guy passed out at the side of the road. There was a dog going mad, car blocking the road, and a woman standing above him. So I pulled over and phoned an ambulance and started running back, and when I got back to them, they shouted at me. I think he was drunk and he'd fallen over when he was out walking the dog, and they were all, no, don't need an ambulance, and then I had to cancel it. But that particular road was a main road home, and there must have been at least 50 people who drove past and seen what looks like an unconscious man, a dog running wild, and a car blocking the road, and they just drove out and drove past it.
That's sad to hear. That is truly sad to hear.
It is that people can do that. If you see someone in need, like, I'm surprised the woman didn't fucking help you. You helped her dog.
People have asked me about that before, and so first and foremost, one thing I was always taught is give without the expectation of being given back. So I didn't care if she didn't thank me. But she was, if I could show you what that woman looked like, you would understand why she didn't say thank you. I truly, if she would have cried for just 15 seconds more, she would have fainted. She was panicked. So all she saw, she didn't see me laying on the ground. She saw her dog. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm truly okay with that. It's one thing I tell the ladies in my self-defense class. If you ever find yourself in a shitty situation, never yell the word help. No one gives a shit about help. You have to yell something that's going to get people's attention, so yell fire, because fire affects everybody. And I always tell them, I don't know if you guys get it, but there was a show called What Would You Do here in the States. And normally it's just some uncomfortable shit, like you're in a movie theater and some kid is kicking your chair. Yeah. It's, what would you do? And it's everyone's in on it but you. And they're filming your reaction. Well, they had one episode where it was a kid and they set it up it was like a black kid with like an Asian in them. It was obvious that this kid didn't belong to the two people. Yeah. And across a busy city street, this kid is digging her heels in, screaming at the top of her lungs, someone help me, these aren't my parents. Not a single fucking person stopped to help this kid. And it made me cry. You know what I mean? And now we have all these cell phone videos, and people are videoing shit of people getting their ass kicked, beaten up, and all this other shit. And it's like, fine, if you're not a big person or you don't think you can handle yourself in a fight, great. But if you have a phone that can take a video, you also have a phone that can call 911.
Yeah.
Nobody helps anymore. And it's disgusting to me. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, because the first thing my dad would do, my grandfather, is help. So I just don't understand it when people don't help other people.
No, I'm totally.
I just
totally.
I don't understand that bullshit.
Yeah, I've mentioned before, I was growing up, my mum took 2 people in who had been kicked out of their house, who lived locally. Now, it's not that they were kicked out for no reason. I'm not saying they were part of the LGBTQ and they got kicked out. They're robbing off their parents and they're doing shit like that, so they got kicked out. And my ma took them in, and it's the way I was raised. You're supposed to help people.
Of course.
If it's easy for you and it takes someone a month to do it, what's an hour out of your time to save someone a month, to help them along that line, to do something for them? It shocks me, as you say, man. It really does shock me that people don't do that. And if I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's also, what would you want someone to do for you if you were in a bad situation?
Yeah.
Right? If your Achilles was blown out, wouldn't you want someone to at least drive you to your car if you're not to the hospital? If it was your dog on the street and you were incapable of running that dog down, any of that crap. So maybe that's part of the reason why I don't understand, because as hard it is for me to accept help, yeah, I would want some fucking help if I'm in a shitty situation and someone's able to do it. So I will never understand how people don't help other people.
On a selfish note as well, I find enjoyment from helping other people. It is actually,
God, yeah.
It's a nice thing to do. And not only is it a nice thing to do, whatever way the chemistry in my brain works or whatever way it is just, it feels good to help other people. Our species is actually evolved around it. We're a social species, evolved to help each other.
Oh yeah. You say that, and this third to last interview I did with Peter, it was about the golden rule and all this other crap. And my simple question to the dude was, because he was making this long, complicated bullshit non-answer about helping other people. And so I finally did the whole, well, what the hell would Jesus do? And my example was super simple. It's no sacrifice. It's no nothing. I simply asked the guy, if Jesus was in a situation to where, let's say Jesus was 6 feet and the other person was 5'8", and they couldn't reach something on the shelf. I think I even said eggs. Just in a grocery store, what would Jesus do? This fucker told me Jesus wouldn't do it. And I had to pause for a second. I was like, really? And his answer was, well, Jesus would be afraid of being shanked in a grocery store. And I'm like, wait, hold on. This is the fucker who can't die. He's immortal. We nailed this asshole to a cross and he came back in 48 to 36 hours, but he's afraid of being shanked by a thug in a grocery store for reaching eggs. And so you're just like, yeah, it does feel good to help other people. And that's why, on a quick right-hand turn, I've always, and people have said it before me, secular people are more moral. We do it because you should do it.
Yeah.
We don't do it because of a reward or the threat of a punishment, right? I helped that lady simply because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I saved her dog. She didn't say thank you. And you'll never guess what? I don't give a shit. The dog was safe, and the look on her face, selfishly for me, was more than enough. I'm glad she got her dog back. It costed me a trip. I'll be wearing this piece of shit for the next 6 months. Totally worth it. And if I had to do it again tomorrow, knowing the outcome, I would still do it.
Yeah.
Not because of a heaven or a hell, but because it's the right thing to do. And you're right. Selfishly, it feels good to help other people.
It does. And at the end of the day, as you say, with the, becoming Christians and all, depending on what denomination or what dogmatic person you're talking to, you're not my tribe, I ain't helping you.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're secular, you're a human. You know, I'm more humanist, like. But if you're just another human. There's someone in need that needs help.
Yep.
And it just boils down to that.
And that's, again, that's why, in my opinion, secularists are, if I just had to pick a side, we're superior, right? You do things because, God damn it, it's just the right thing to do. And there's just no second thought. And if she gave me $100 or whether she just walked the fuck off, to me, it's all the same.
I would say that our morality would be superior, but I wouldn't make the statement that I'm superior.
You're right. The morality is superior. The person maybe is not.
Oh yeah, but we're all fucking selfish.
I agree.
Yeah, we fuck up all the time, and you know we.
Oh yeah.
If you see an advantage, you take an advantage. We're all human. Everybody makes mistakes. Yeah. We all do things like.
Agreed. My grandfather, who I've never met, he died when my dad, I think, was 16 years old. Everyone says the exact same thing about Big Burke, in that this was the greatest man you've ever met. And that apparently, because my father grew up in financial destitution, they would have to save money just to be poor. And there were many nights where they didn't eat. My grandfather taught my dad how to kill birds in the front yard.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't kill a bird, they didn't eat that night. So to this day, my dad will sit outside and feed birds crumbs because he still feels bad. 60 years later, he does. Dead serious. My dad still feels bad for having to kill their cousins. So he'll just sit out there in the hot ass sun and throw breadcrumbs to birds to say, at least we're even. But my grandfather, apparently, if he had $1, he would feed his family on 75 cents. And if he knew his next door neighbor didn't have a dime to eat, he would give them that other 25 cents. And when they said, well, Big Burke, aren't you going to eat? He would lie to them and say, I've already eaten. Here's 25 cents. Go get a can of beans and a loaf of bread. And he never did it for thanks. He never did it to have a statue erected. Matter of fact, when he died, his grave marker is the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Someone literally just poured a slab of concrete and with a fucking stick wrote BIRK. That's his entire grave marker. My grandfather's name is BURKE. He's Burke Reid Sr. And his grave marker is a big fuck you to him. But point being, that is the man who did things because it's the right thing to do. He never wanted thanks. He just wanted you to eat. He wanted you to have shoes on your feet, so he'd buy people shoes. Knowing in advance he wasn't going to eat and he wasn't going to get a new pair of shoes or a coat, but that's just who this dude was. And he never did it for thank you. And I wish I could have met the guy because he sounds fantastic.
My auntie recently passed away a couple of weeks ago, and we were at the crematorium in Dublin. Oh, it's all right, man, it's grand. And we were went and she got what do you call it? Crematorium. She got cremated. She went and got cremated. And,
yeah.
It's a big Catholic. No, she wasn't Catholic, but the crematorium just happened to be in the Catholic graveyard. And the amount of money that the Irish travellers, I'm talking 15,000, 20,000 they're spending on gravestones. I could show you pictures, man, at least 8 to 10 feet tall. You know, just an absolute and utter waste of money. And then people spend their lives, and I am going to be, you know, a wee bit stereotypical here, but they're thieves, and, you know, they live their lives hand to mouth and robbing people, and they're spending 15,000, 20,000 £20,000 on a gravestone. And someone like your grandfather who spends his life on nothing because it's the right thing to do ends up with something like that. It's sad, but at the same time it's justification to the man's character.
Yeah. I get all that. It's I could actually go on for hours about the whole giving to the church before you give to yourself, because that was us. I've seen that shit firsthand, and it's it's a hard spot to be. And I'm sorry for your loss. That's burying family members sucks.
It's fine, man. We were, as I say, I would be quite vocal about it as well, and the family don't mind. And you know, when we went to the crematorium, my cousin mentioned about how lovely it was, and I was like, yes, nicest furnace with seats I've ever been to. You know, we're all quite laid back over here, and yeah, no, it's. She died surrounded by family. The last couple of days, she had her grandkids jumping all over the bed. She couldn't hear anything, or well, she couldn't say anything, but she could hear, and she went down with the kids. So no. That's it. No, goodness. She went out. She was. She planned everything. She knew everything was coming. So, no, it's grand. It generally is grand.
Okay.
Yeah, some people mourn differently. Some people don't. No, we're just tough over here.
You sound like Southerners.
Just get on with it. You know, sometimes you just have to get on with it. And as I say, she knew it was coming. She had everything planned out. She got exactly what she wanted, and she went out listening and surrounded by her family. What the hell else could you want, like?
My uncle was my size. He was a very tall, big guy, even in his older years. And the fucker got hit with some horrible, unexplainable, unnameable, that was disgusting, excuse that, cancer. So he went from like 6'3" and 250 to skinny as a shit. And I'll never forget, the last time around him was with us. And it was a room full of family, and Finney wanted a prayer. He got a prayer. And in the middle of the prayer, he was exhausted from just sitting there. I'll never forget, he interrupted the prayer, told his wife, my aunt, I'm tired, and I just want to lay down. And that was literally the last time I saw my Uncle Finney. Yeah. And it's a moment I'll never forget, but he was surrounded by family. He got what he wanted, which was a prayer. Then he went and laid down. And I remember they even said, we can do exploratory surgery to, expand your life by 5-6 months? And he said, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And he got exactly what he wanted. And it sucks to this day. I have his dog tags. I have his clothes because they still fit me as a reminder. And it fucking sucks. But I think, he went out the way he wanted to. He got his prayer. He was surrounded by his family. And in the middle of the prayer, he was just exhausted from sitting there. He stopped the prayer, told Mary, I want to lay down, and that was it. And that was literally it. He just laid down.
My auntie would have been, I would consider her religious, but she was the same, man. She had cancer. She lost about 5.5 stone from the December till a few weeks ago. Just completely lost a load of weight. But she got exactly what she wanted, and she held on at the very end until all the family had got up and had got to say their goodbyes. And I think it was 12 hours after the last main family member had got up that she'd passed away. So she'd got to hear everybody had got up, everybody had said their bit, and as I say, the day before she'd been surrounded by like 6 kids screaming and shouting, and 2 of them have been expelled from primary school. They're that out of control. So they're going buck mad, jumping all around her. She got out surrounded by, like, well, what else would you want? That's one of the best ways to go, like.
Yeah, and it's so I kind of hope no Christians are watching this because they're going to say this was all God.
I think we have a couple of Christians. We have a couple of Christians. We've
really?
We've got a Catholic. We have a Catholic. Rory's a Catholic. We have Nez Lover, who I'm not sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Because one of my best friends, he's an atheist. She's a Mormon, actually. And they got married. And her grandfather, who she was supremely close to, was literally holding on because he loved his granddaughter so much. It's like his only mission in life was to see his granddaughter get married.
Yeah.
Well, literally, if he met her husband, my best friend, on Monday, he was pretty much, okay, I've done what I've came to do. He literally died the next day. But the fucker got what he wanted. He just wanted to make sure his granddaughter was going to be taken care of. Because out of she had 2 brothers, she was the only granddaughter. And if everyone else died in a car wreck, he wouldn't have given a shit. He just cared about his granddaughter. And so he was like, who is going to love my granddaughter forever? And when he met him, he died the next day. Right? And so, like I said, at this point, this is when the Christians will say, see, there is a God. He held him on just for that one reason.
But I think
Yeah,
your body
so-
makes that decision. You know, your body also has some sort of control, and it's not going to say that you have the control of when you die or anything like that. But if you're in that state and you know that you're going to die, and it's taking strength to die, or taking strength to hold on, you make the decision you want to see all your family. And when you get to that point, you're like, right, I'm done, and it's as if you're going to sleep. I can let go now. I don't have to make the effort.
I firmly believe in the theory of people willing themselves to death. I've seen people, and again, probably the first time I saw it was my mom's friends, Mildred and Clavin. And Clavin died first. And Mildred, who was in perfect health, but her entire life was her husband, Clavin.
Yeah.
And I just still remember I was a kid, and they were an older couple. Clavin was Mildred's life.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. And when we lost Clavin, she just didn't want to do this anymore. And she was in perfect health. She exercised every day. She ate well. She had kids and grandkids, but she just didn't want to do it anymore. And she literally willed herself to death. And I've read about other cases to where just people just don't want to do this anymore.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. That your mental health would definitely have a control over how your body physically works.
Sure, absolutely.
I've joked before on camera or on video here that my granny is, she had her 80th birthday and she was like, right, spent 80 years being nice to people, don't need to do that no more. And not that
fuck it.
Not that she's a wicked person or anything like that, but I joke that when the Grim Reaper comes for her, she'll tell him to fuck off as well. She may be frail and there's no weight to her. She's literally skin and bone. She's one of them older people that would be very thin, but she goes out, she's no bother. At the minute with the whole COVID-19 and all, my man's trying to keep her in the house and she's like, no, I'm going to the fucking shop.
I firmly, and I don't believe, I know, and you can't see, but there's another Longhorn Letterman behind this laptop. But actually, she was there when I shattered my foot in 1991. I was a piece of shit. I was cranky. I was an asshole. I was mean. And that's saying a lot because I don't talk to a lot of people, especially when I first got to college. And I was wearing one of these in 1991. And my attitude was just for shit. I still remember the head football trainer pulled me off to the side and he cussed me out. It was like, you want to spend 6 more months in this fucking boot? Keep up with the shitty attitude. Your mental health, your mental well-being directly affects your physical healing. And for lack of a better term, he was a mascot. He loved us. We accepted him. But there was a guy who was confined to a wheelchair who was just a big Texas football fan. He hung out with us, and he would get, on Thursday nights, the UT football team would get drunk and play dominoes. And to see this guy in a wheelchair get fucking plastered and wheel into the, well, it was kind of funny, but you're like, oh, this is terrible. And I still remember after Spanky, the head trainer chewed me out, this guy, and I still remember we were in front of the dining hall at UT. To get down to the dining hall, there were 3 steps, and I'll never forget it. And here I am being cranky, like, oh, this fucking sucks. And this guy pulled me off to the side and said, you see those 3 steps? 6 months, you'll walk down those 3 steps. In 6 years, I still won't be able to walk down those steps. Suck it up. You're going to get better, right? Pretty much your brain controls your body. And I'll never forget, Spanky let me have it, and this guy let me have it. And so, yeah, if your physical well-being is attached to your brain, I firmly believe that people who don't want to be here anymore can will themselves to death.
No, I would agree with that. I've said that statement before. Your brain controls your body, and if you can control your brain, you're capable of anything.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's the hard part, is controlling your fucking brain.
Even
this thing doesn't always work when you want it to.
Well, that's very relevant to their today. Actually, yesterday, the girlfriend went out. She picked a new car. Her old car that she's been driving was her mother's before that, her auntie's before that, and her granddad's before that. It's been going, they just handed it down, and it was her first car. And She went out and test drove a car during the week, put a deposit down, really liked it, picked it out and all the rest of it, and picked it up yesterday. When I first met my girlfriend, she would, you could say, and have symptoms of close to post-traumatic. She nearly had an accident where she got wiped out by a lorry on her like second lesson, and only for having the dual brakes, you know, on the passenger side. She'd have went out on a roundabout in front of a lorry and been fucking wiped out and killed. So that was it.
Holy shit.
And that was when she was 18 and did not set into a car again until last October is when she passed. Did not get back into a car again. And I used to take her out in the car and you couldn't even talk to her about it. She would break down, she would cry and all the rest of it. But I said to her the day, I was like, I'm really proud of you, honey, the way you've went and done that, you know, and you picked the car and all. And she's at her dinner and she's picking stuff out of her dinner. And our wee girl's now started to do that because she's copying mummy. And she starts to comment on how she can't stand these little things in her food and stuff like that. And I was like, it's exactly the same as with the car. I was like, 3 years ago, you used to shake and break down and cry when someone mentioned the idea. And I was like, and you made the decision that you had to learn to drive. We've got the baby now. And you got over your fear. She passed first time. I was like, it's the exact same thing. If you can just make the decision, so to speak, in your mind that, fuck me, just put up with the onions and eat them.
Yeah, yeah. You know, sometimes you just have to. There's just no nice way to put it. There's no easy way to do it. You just,
She can't cook, man, right?
Eat the shit sandwich. It's a shit sandwich.
Can't cook to save her life, okay? Love the bones of my woman. Can't cook to fucking save her life, okay?
Really?
Can't cook to save her life. I do most of the cooking, right? And I am sick and tired of cooking the same shit over and over again because my woman's very picky. So last 2 or 3 weekends ago, we're at my mum's house, and not to say I lost the rag, but my mom was like, do you want to bring some pasta home for Dad? I'm fucking sick of fucking eating pasta and lasagna and fucking spaghetti bolognese and all the rest of it. As you see next week, fucking she's cooking. She's fucking cooking next week. So she arrived with carrots and, meat and everything. She was like, right, I'm making Irish stew. You go and fucking sit down. I'm not listening to your whinging no more. And she spent like an hour in the kitchen, meticulously going over everything, going through this recipe her mother had given her and all the rest of it. And when she had it in the pot at the very end, she went out the back for a smoke and it fucking burnt, right?
Oh, man.
But just at the bottom of the pot, right? The bottom like centimetre burnt, but that smell goes through the whole thing.
Oh,
and
gotcha. It only takes a little bit.
Yeah, and she'd made more than she needed, so she didn't realise that she didn't get to the burnt bit. And I'm sitting there eating away at it, just eating it. It's fucking burnt and stinking and absolutely rotten, but I haven't eaten all day. And she looks up at me and she goes, that doesn't taste right. And I was like, no, honey, it's not. And she goes, it's burnt, isn't it? And I was like, it's fucking burnt to a crisp, Pat. And she's like, well, why are you eating it? And I was like, because I haven't had eaten since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm fucking starving, and what do you want me to do? Just tell you it was useless? You just get on with it, you know?
You poor bastard.
Just fucking eat it. I tried red sauce and putting it in between bread and everything, man. I got halfway down through.
Did it matter?
No, it was fucking burnt.
But I used to be married in another life ago, and I can honestly say I probably did 90% of the cooking, which I'm okay with. One, I like cooking, and two, I come from a long line of big mamas and mamas, so I'm actually halfway decent in the kitchen. So I'm all for it. And there were times where my ex-wife would get in the kitchen and completely fuck shit up. And just like, wow, did you even try? she never burned anything. But it's just like,
well, I have to say,
salt, you went in with the pepper, you want to try.
When it comes to fashion and stuff like that, my woman is fantastic. She dresses our wee girl perfectly, in real nice outfits, and she gets bargains and stuff like that. And when it comes to looking after the wee girl and that, she's absolutely fantastic. I think it was the second week that we had the wee girl at home, and she'd left all the stuff out in order of how to put it on, so I couldn't mess up, and I knocked it over, and it was all out of order, and I put it on, and I came in, and I'm holding the baby up, and I'm looking at my woman going, this just doesn't look right. And I'd put on the vest on the outside of the baby grow? It was like on the wrong, I'd fucked up, man. And she just was like, no, that's it, you're not dressing the child, don't worry. So
okay. So you say that, and I still remember the first one of us who had a kid was Mike, one of my backups when I was at UT. And I'm bald-headed. Mike was almost bald-headed. What the fuck do we know about hair, right? Well, the relationship split straight away. They just weren't good for each other, but they had a kid, so they of course had to split the whole custody thing. Mike would feed her, Mike would dress her, Mike would care for her, apple of his eye. But Mike didn't know how to do her hair. And we would sit there, and it was just like, man, she looked like a war survivor. It was terrible. She had this big, long, beautiful lines made of hair, but he didn't know what the fuck to do with it. So every time he handed her off back to the ex, it just looked terrible. And he was like, well, what do I do? I'm like, do I look like I know what to do with fucking hair? It's just good luck. And I hope she doesn't sue you for negligence. So, yeah, it's like I said before, having a kid sounds fun.
Yeah,
a blast.
I bathed our wee girl today, which, I wouldn't do all the time just because of the time and stuff. I spend just the weekends with the family just because of the way work is at the minute. My woman's like, no, you're bathing her the day. That's it, you're bathing her. And I was like, right, so bath her and all the rest of it. Oh, she cried when Daddy tried to do her hair. No. My woman's
you
mother.
Can't do it either?
No, I'm just rushing away like fucking, she's crying and my woman's mother come down and did it. There you are. There's the hair dryer.
What's the science behind hair? What are you and I missing?
You see, the problem with it is, I think, possibly because it's the same way with a coat. If you try and do someone else's coat up when you're standing in front of them, right?
You can't,
You can't do it. So whenever you're doing the hair and looking at it, I shave my head bald and I shave my neck and I shave my head. Yeah, no, but I shave it without a mirror. I also do under my neck without a mirror. I very rarely use a mirror when I'm shaving because I'm so used to my own face now.
Absolutely.
You know the own contours and this, that, and the other. And over time, same with your hair. You know where there's going to be knots, this, that, and the other.
There you go.
Your hair would have curls that you would learn in your top right hand corner above your ear or something like that. And Daddy's just fucking brushing away. Yeah, no.
What you say that? Matter of fact, hold on. You do hair. Is it a science? Okay, so there's another Letterman here. She does hair, and apparently it's not a science.
I can cut her.
You can cut hair?
I can cut her. Now, I can cut girls' hair and boys' hair, but it's just when my wee girl's hair's so long and it's wet. Whenever you're cutting her, I will have the brush wet, so it's easier to maneuver. But it's coming in already dealt with. Why did we get onto her as two bald men?
You tell me. I haven't had hair. I haven't had hair since 1991. I've been wanting to be bald since I was a kid, and it was the whole you can do whatever you want after you leave my house. I'm like, fine. So in August of 1991, when I landed in Austin, Texas, as a Longhorn, I took a razor. Actually, first it was clippers. And I haven't had hair since then. I despise hair.
2 years ago, I had long hair since I was 18, down my back and all the rest of it. Then the 4-head was a 5-head, then a 6-head. And then
it just kept going back?
Yes. I offered it up to a couple of people for charity. Nobody came back. And then on Valentine's Day, I bought my woman a haircutting kit because she was whinging about it. And I was like, there you are. I filmed the whole thing in my mom's kitchen, set up a camera and all. And yeah, she had a field day. Oh, she looked like a serial killer. She was loving it. Oh, she was absolutely loving it. Well, here, we've been going an hour and a bit, man. If you're still up for it, I've got a wee after party booked where I'm going to bring a few other people in, if that's okay.
Yeah, man, of course.
If you want, do you have a channel yourself? Do you do anything on YouTube yourself, or is all your work on?
I'm attached to Peter. I'm actually working on my next endeavor is to talk about mental health, and actually, I think Peter actually has an intro ready for that. I have a script, and as soon as I get the balls, I'm going to sit here and get raw on YouTube. I don't have the channel yet, but hopefully in the next week or so, it'll be up and running.
Yeah, well, we've a good community here, man, of nice people and all. If you need any help, reach out, give us a shout. I can do a wee bit of OBS and Discord and things like that. We've got other people that can do other bits and bobs. We have a few artists and things like that. So, yeah, man, if you need any help and we've got spare time, we have a good crowd here. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm leaning pretty hard on Peter right now, and if whatever else, I'll definitely reach out. But I definitely want to get this channel.
Yeah,
up
Peter's
and
old.
running.
Peter's old, and he doesn't understand Discord.
For no other reason, humiliate the shit out of myself. But yeah, I'm gonna have my own here pretty soon.
Good to hear, man. It definitely is. So, if there's no questions for, he wants a leg update. KCA Randy must have missed the start. The leg, he wants a leg update. He mustn't have been here at the start.
What's that?
Your leg, Casey Randy has missed the start. He wants to know how your leg is.
Oh, my leg. It sucks. It's a ruptured Achilles, and this is. How about this? If I was still playing sports, this would probably be a career ender. It's that bad of an injury.
Fuck. Right. Well.
Yeah,
yeah, that's not good at all.
It sucks.
Well, at least it's not your main. Sometimes. It's not your main source of income now. So, that's the main.
What's
thing.
that?
It's not.
No. It's no longer my source of income. I can sit in a chair and do my job. It's just gonna suck because again, this is my prison cell for probably the next 6 months. So it's all right. Well, I've recovered from worse.
If I can ask one of the mods in the chat if they can grab the link for the after party, throw it into the chat. We'll be there in about 10 minutes. And yeah, just enough time. Well, maybe 20. He's got a gammy leg to go to the toilet. Might take him a while. Yeah, we'll be back soon enough. And on that, everybody, Robert, really, I know we've been back and forth talking and the timing wasn't right and then it was right and then daylight savings happened. But I really appreciate your flexibility and thank you very much.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Okay, we'll see you at the after party. Bye-bye.
All right. Peace.